Hello everyone, welcome back to Anime Dreams. In today's video, we continue an intense and imaginative storyline with part 2 of What If Naruko Uzumaki was the Juubi's chosen vessel. This scenario explores an alternate path of destiny, one where power, fate, and consequence collide in ways never seen in the original timeline. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. The content on this channel is created purely for entertainment and discussion. I do not own any anime footage used in this video. All rights and credits belong to their respective creators and copyright holders. With that said, let's dive deeper into this alternate reality. Let's begin, guys. Naruko vs. Madara, a story of courage and trust. Naruko stood quietly, her eyes wide with wonder as she looked up at Madara's towering Susanoo. It glowed like a giant guardian made of shining energy, almost as large as the great nine-tailed spirit when Naruko worked together with it at full strength. She could feel how powerful it was, not frightening, but overwhelming, like a storm of ancient strength. Naruko understood that this challenge could not be faced by strength alone. It would take teamwork, trust, and heart. Inside her mind, she spoke gently. "Kurama, are you feeling ready?" Naruko asked. "I could really use your help right now." Kurama's voice answered calmly, warm and steady. "I've been ready for a long time. I was just waiting for you." Naruko smiled with relief. "That makes me really happy to hear." Kurama chuckled kindly. "No need to worry. You're not alone anymore." Naruko took a deep breath and focused. She felt braver already. Just then, a familiar hand held hers. She turned and saw Sakura standing beside her. Sakura's eyes shimmered with emotion, but her voice was steady and strong. "I want to stand with you," Sakura said. "I want to help." Naruko shook her head gently. "Sakura, this place is dangerous. I don't want you getting hurt." Sakura stepped closer. "I trust you. And I believe in what you're fighting for. I want to be by your side." Naruko studied her face and finally nodded. "Okay. But stay close to me." Sakura smiled brightly and gave Naruko a quick, gentle hug. "Always." With Kurama's help, a warm, glowing energy formed around Naruko like a protective light. Sakura felt herself rise slightly, safely supported by the gentle power surrounding them. "It's okay," Naruko said softly. "You're safe." Sakura nodded, holding Naruko's hand. "Thank you. For trusting me." Naruko grinned. "You've always been someone I can count on." Together, they faced Madara, not with anger, but with determination and hope. Kakashi's promise. Elsewhere, Kakashi sat quietly near his old friend Obito, who lay peacefully, resting after a long and difficult journey. The wind moved gently through the trees, carrying leaves into the sky. Kakashi remembered their final conversation, not as a battle, but as a moment of truth and understanding. Obito had spoken with honesty and regret, realizing that pain and anger had once clouded his heart. He trusted Kakashi to help protect the world and believed that light could still win. "Madara's strength comes from his eyes," Obito had explained calmly. "But even strength has limits." Kakashi had nodded, listening carefully, promising to remember. Now, Kakashi stood up, resolve filling his heart. "Obito," he said quietly, "I'll honor your wish. I won't let the world lose its hope." The wind carried his words away as Kakashi turned and ran back toward his friends, not to fight with hatred, but to protect with courage. Cherry Blossom Emoji, Naruko Uzumaki, a story of courage and heart, Cherry Blossom Emoji. Naruko and Madara stood facing one another as their challenge continued. The air shimmered with glowing energy, and the ground gently trembled beneath their feet. Madara's towering guardian of light stood firmly in front of him, blocking every move with calm precision. Naruko had been moving swiftly, forming glowing energy arms that reached out again and again. Each one tapped against the glowing guardian, but it held strong. "Naruko, that's not working." Sakura called out, her voice steady but concerned. "Try something different." Naruko nodded. She took a deep breath and smiled with renewed determination. Instead of striking, she changed her approach. Two of her glowing energy arms gently but firmly wrapped around the guardian, holding it in place. Madara blinked in surprise. Taking advantage of the moment, Naruko gathered her energy carefully, shaping it into a bright, swirling sphere that glowed warmly rather than fiercely. "Sakura," Naruko said kindly, "stay close to me. This might feel a little bumpy." Sakura held onto Naruko's arm, trusting her completely. The glowing guardian struggled to move, but the more it tried, the more energy arms appeared to support Naruko's hold. The glowing sphere grew brighter, humming softly like a friendly star. Okay, Naruko said with a confident grin, here we go. She released the energy forward in a powerful but controlled burst. At the same time, she leapt back, making sure everyone stayed safe. A gentle wave of wind rippled outward, and Sakura held on tightly. They landed together at a safe distance. As the glowing mist cleared, Sakura peeked forward. Did it work? Naruko shook her head thoughtfully. It helped, but this challenge isn't over yet. From behind them, Kurama's calm voice echoed in her thoughts. Look closely. The Guardian was still standing, though parts of it had softened into a lighter, simpler shape. Madara stood unharmed behind it, clearly protected. I must admit, Madara said thoughtfully, that was impressive. Not many can leave a mark like that. Naruko clenched her fists gently. She knew she couldn't stay in her glowing form forever. She needed trust, balance, and teamwork. Suddenly, she felt a warm hand on her shoulder. Sakura smiled at her. Don't give up. You always find a way. And you're not alone, I'm right here with you. Naruko's eyes softened. Thank you, Sakura. Together. We'll do this. Kurama cleared his throat playfully in her mind. You two finished encouraging each other yet? We still have a challenge ahead. Sakura laughed softly, and Naruko smiled despite herself. All right, Naruko said brightly. Let's focus. Madara raised his hand, and his glowing guardian lifted a massive energy blade, not to harm others, but as a test of strength and resolve. Naruko's eyes sharpened. I can't let that get past us, she thought. Everyone behind us is counting on us. The guardian swung, but Naruko reacted instantly. 5 glowing arms rose together and gently stopped the blade midair. The ground pressed down slightly beneath her, but she held firm. A strong breeze flowed past them, but nearby allies formed sturdy barriers of stone to keep everyone safe. No one was harmed. Madara studied her carefully. Perhaps I underestimated you, he said. Naruko felt the pressure increase, and she knelt slightly, breathing hard, but she didn't give up. You don't decide our limits, she said bravely. With a quick idea, she formed another glowing arm, lightly tapping the guardian's side. Madara stepped back, and the pressure lifted. Naruko moved forward, then suddenly stopped. Multi-shadow clone technique. She called cheerfully. With a burst of light, dozens of Narukos appeared, all smiling with determination. They floated forward together, each holding a small, glowing sphere of energy, carefully shaped and safe. Madara's eyes widened. The glowing orbs gently burst around the guardian in a brilliant display of light, pushing it back without harm. When the light faded, one clone zipped forward with a spinning ball of energy. Madara moved aside quickly, and the clone vanished in a puff of smoke. Naruko blinked. Oh no. I almost had it. She held her head dramatically, then sighed. Sakura crossed her arms, smiling fondly. She's dramatic, but she never stays down. Kurama chuckled. That's our Naruko. Naruko straightened up, eyes focused again. She knew her time in this form was nearly up, but she wasn't afraid. She smiled softly. Kurama, she said in her mind, thank you for believing in me. And with her friends beside her and her heart full of courage, Naruko prepared for whatever came next. Naruko took a steady breath as warm, glowing energy swirled gently around her. Inside her heart, the kind fox spirit Kurama spoke with calm encouragement. I know, kid, Kurama said softly. Time feels short, but I think we can keep going a little longer. Every moment we work together, our bond grows stronger. When you move, I move. When you focus, I focus. That harmony lets us shine brighter. If we stay connected, we can hold this special mode just a bit more. Naruko smiled. She could feel it too, the teamwork, the trust, the shared rhythm. It felt like dancing to the same song. Then let's not waste a second, Naruko said cheerfully. Let's give it our best. Naruko. Someone called. Naruko and Sakura turned around and saw Kakashi standing proudly among their friends, waving with his usual calm smile. Kakashi-sensei. You're back, Naruko said. Did everything go okay? Yes, Kakashi replied warmly. And I learned something important that might help everyone. Oh? What is it? Naruko asked, eyes sparkling with curiosity. It turns out that Madara's greatest challenge isn't strength at all, Kakashi explained. It's focus. When he relies too much on seeing things one way, he forgets to listen, learn, and grow. Sakura nodded thoughtfully. So his biggest strength can also be the thing that holds him back. Naruko gave Kakashi a bright thumbs up. Thanks, sensei. That helps a lot. We'll remember to lead with understanding. Kakashi returned the gesture. Go on, Naruko. Show everyone how teamwork and kindness can change the world. You got it, Naruko said with confidence. Just then, Madara stepped forward, not with anger, but with a calm, serious expression. Knowing my weakness doesn't mean you've already succeeded, he said. Naruko met his gaze, steady and hopeful. Maybe not, she replied, but I believe people can grow when they're willing to learn. I'm ready to try, together. Then show me, Madara said. Not with big speeches, but with what you do. Naruko nodded. I will. And I'll start by seeing things from a new perspective. The two stood quietly, not as enemies, but as challengers at the edge of an important lesson. Around them, friends watched with hope. This wasn't about winning or losing, it was about choosing understanding, teamwork, and a brighter future. And so, a new chapter began, guided by trust, kindness, and the belief that everyone can change for the better. Naruko and Madara stood calmly across from one another on the open field, their special eyes gently glowing as they observed the world around them. One eye shimmered with deep rings of wisdom, while the other sparkled with a unique, three-pointed light. The breeze moved softly across the grass, and the moment felt quiet, thoughtful, and full of meaning. Behind Naruko, the allied forces watched with hopeful hearts. They had seen many amazing things today, acts of courage, teamwork, and determination. Naruko took a slow breath and spoke with confidence. Everyone, please move back to a safe distance, she said kindly. I want to focus fully, and I need to know you're all safe. Gaara nodded in agreement. You heard her. Let's give her the space she needs. The group carefully stepped back, each person silently wishing Naruko strength and clarity. She smiled slightly, feeling encouraged, and kept her attention on Madara. With her enhanced vision, she could still sense everyone clearly. Madara folded his arms thoughtfully. Even with distance, he said, this challenge will soon be decided. Naruko shook her head gently. I don't believe that. There's always another way. Madara raised an eyebrow. You may have new sight, but understanding how to use it takes patience. Naruko grinned. Then let's learn together. With that, soft glowing energy extended from Naruko like friendly beams of light, reaching toward Madara's protective energy form. It moved smoothly, but Madara guided his shield aside, letting the beams pass harmlessly by. Oh, Naruko said thoughtfully, you're really good at that. Sakura stood nearby, calm but alert. What's the plan, Naruko? I'll find one, Naruko replied warmly. Madara stepped forward, his energy shape shifting like a puzzle. Naruko stayed calm, watching closely. Suddenly, she noticed a small opening, a moment when Madara adjusted his stance. A gentle dark glow appeared around the shield, not harmful, just distracting. Madara focused on adjusting it, and in that moment, Naruko's larger energy form appeared briefly and gave the shield a firm but harmless nudge, tipping it off balance. That was clever, Sakura said, smiling. Naruko nodded. Thanks. But I need to keep thinking ahead. Inside her mind, Kurama's voice spoke calmly. This form won't last forever, but I trust you. I've got a plan, Naruko answered softly. You rest. She extended her glowing energy again, gently holding the shape in place while she gathered a bright sphere of light, not to cause harm, but to create pressure and encourage movement. Madara calmly raised his hand. Almighty push. A wave of energy moved outward, sending Naruko's light gently back. She landed on her feet, steady and smiling. I forgot about that trick, she admitted cheerfully. Sakura, are you okay? I'm fine, Sakura said confidently. And I've got your back. Kurama added playfully, I'm fine too. Naruko laughed. Good. Rest up. As the glowing form faded, Naruko returned to normal, landing safely beside Sakura. What now? Sakura asked. Naruko smiled brightly. Now we try something different. 3 large clouds of smoke appeared behind her, and from them stepped 3 friendly toads, Gamabunta, Gamahiro, and Gamaken. Well, Gamabunta said with a grin, looks like you could use some company. Naruko crossed her arms playfully. Only if you're ready to help. We are, Gamabunta said proudly. Naruko nodded. Can you keep Madara's shield busy for a bit? I need time to gather my focus. Gamaken nodded politely. I will do my best. It may not be elegant. That's okay, Naruko said warmly. I appreciate you. The toads moved forward, using clever teamwork and playful distractions to keep the glowing shield occupied. Naruko turned to Sakura. I'm going to enter Sage mode. I need you to protect me while I focus. Sakura stood tall. I promise. Nothing will interrupt you. Naruko smiled with gratitude. Thank you, Sakura. She closed her eyes, breathing slowly, letting calm and confidence fill her heart. The light around her grew steady and peaceful, ready for whatever came next. Naruko sat calmly on the grassy ground, crossing her legs and placing her hands gently on her knees. She closed her eyes and took slow, steady breaths, focusing on the natural energy around her. Sakura stood nearby, alert and watchful, making sure nothing unexpected interrupted Naruko's concentration. Off in the distance, Madara and one of Naruko's shadow clones were still engaged in a magical standoff. Instead of striking each other, they moved carefully, testing one another with clever techniques and quick thinking. Naruko's clone still carried a little extra energy from when it had been created, allowing her to keep up with Madara's impressive skill. Neither side had gained an advantage yet, so both decided to use special techniques. Madara raised his hands and began forming careful gestures. Naruko's clone watched closely, using her sharp perception to understand what kind of technique was coming. A warm breeze technique, Madara announced calmly as he released a large swirl of glowing, flame-colored light into the air. Naruko's clone responded by creating a swirling field of dark, star-like energy that gently met the glowing light. The two energies pressed against each other, neither overwhelming the other. Slowly, the darker light absorbed the warmth until both faded away peacefully. Just then, Naruko's clone spun around and lightly tapped a wooden copy Madara had created, causing it to vanish in a puff of leaves. Madara raised an eyebrow. Impressive. I forgot how observant she is. As the energy faded, Madara noticed Naruko sitting quietly, still meditating, with only Sakura standing between them. So she trusts her friend completely, Madara said thoughtfully. Madara moved swiftly toward them, and Naruko's clone hurried to follow. Oh no, he noticed, Sakura said, startled but determined. She stepped forward, planting her feet firmly and raising her hands, ready to protect Naruko. Such courage, Madara said softly. Before he could go any farther, Naruko's clone gently nudged him aside with a quick, spinning kick that sent him sliding across the grass rather than hurting him. Thanks, Naruko, Sakura said with a relieved smile. Anytime. The clone replied cheerfully. Is she ready yet? Sakura shook her head. Almost. Just a moment more. I'll keep him busy, the clone said. You stay ready too. The clone dashed off again, keeping Madara's attention with clever footwork and creative movement. You're full of surprises, Madara said, smiling slightly. Naruko's clone suddenly changed shape, forming extra glowing arms made of light. One arm released harmless bursts of sparkling energy that zipped past Madara like fireworks. Madara hopped back, impressed. While he was distracted, the clone formed a glowing ring of energy that floated toward him. Madara calmly absorbed it, nodding in approval. It seems your extra energy is nearly gone, he observed. The clone laughed lightly, returning to her normal form. Guess it's time for me to step back. She bowed politely before fading away in a soft puff of smoke. Madara turned back toward Naruko and Sakura. Naruko now stood up, her eyes open and glowing warmly, showing she had finished gathering her energy. Her posture was relaxed but confident. So, Madara said, will you join me now, Naruko? Naruko smiled. I'd be happy to. Nearby, Madara's giant glowing guardian was busy playing a friendly test of strength with 3 giant toads. Instead of fighting, they were pushing, blocking, and trying to outmaneuver one another like a very intense game. Gamabunta hopped back, catching his breath. Wow. This is tough. I'm sorry, Gamaken said kindly. I mistimed my move. We can still do this, Gamahiro said with a grin. Naruko believes in us. Gamabunta straightened proudly. You're right. We learn every time we try. He took a deep breath, gathered a large bubble of water in his mouth, and cheerfully called out. Water bubble splash. A huge, harmless wave of water splashed playfully across the field, sparkling in the sunlight as everyone laughed and kept going. And through teamwork, patience, and trust, Naruko continued her journey, learning not just how strong she could become, but how powerful kindness and cooperation truly were. Naruko took a steady breath as she stood beside her allies, her bright eyes focused and determined. High above, 3 giant toads worked together to keep a towering magical guardian distracted. Instead of striking with harm, the toads used their tools to redirect glowing waves of water and light, carefully protecting one another and avoiding danger. Wow! That thing is really sturdy, Chief Toad said, impressed rather than upset. But we'll keep going as long as we can. Naruko smiled softly. They're doing their best. So will I. Nearby, Naruko faced a powerful opponent who challenged her not just with strength, but with confidence and clever tricks. When glowing flames spread across the ground like a wall of warm light, Naruko darted gracefully out of the way, her movements quick and playful, like a game of tag. Still standing? Her opponent asked with a grin. Always. Naruko replied cheerfully. She created a few shadowy copies of herself, each one smiling with the same hopeful spark. Together, they spun swirling orbs of energy that glowed like little suns, but instead of striking, they burst into harmless sparkles, surprising everyone watching. Her opponent laughed. You're full of surprises. Naruko paused, listening closely to the gentle voice inside her heart, the friendly fox spirit who shared her strength. Just a little longer, the fox said warmly. You're doing great. I won't rush, Naruko whispered back. I'll trust my friends. Just then, Sakura appeared at her side, standing tall and brave. Naruko, Sakura said firmly, you don't have to do this alone. Naruko's eyes widened. Then she smiled, wide and genuine, and gently placed her hand on Sakura's shoulder. A soft, golden glow surrounded Sakura, warm and comforting like sunlight on a spring morning. I trust you, Naruko said. Let's do this together. Sakura felt the energy and nodded, confidence filling her heart. I won't let you down. Together with Naruko's shadow copies, Sakura stepped forward, not with anger, but with courage. Their movements were perfectly timed, like a dance, encouraging and protecting one another. Watching from afar, the magical guardian finally began to fade, its glowing form returning to peaceful light as the teamwork below grew stronger. The three toads cheered. You did it, kid. Chief Toad called. Next time, just warn us before the big sparkle show. Naruko laughed. Deal. As the dust settled, Naruko looked at her friends, Sakura, the toads, and even her own shadowy helpers, and felt her heart swell. I'm not strong because I fight alone, she thought. I'm strong because I never forget the people beside me. And with that, Naruko stood tall, not as someone who carried everything herself, but as a hero who believed in friendship, trust, and hope. Sakura steadied herself as a strong burst of chakra energy pushed her backward. With calm focus, she spun lightly through the air and landed firmly on her feet. When she looked up, she saw Madara rushing forward again, but before he could reach her, a smiling Naruko clone stepped in. One clone gently redirected Madara's movement with a well-timed kick, sending him drifting toward another clone, who guided him upward with a playful nudge. Madara tried to regain his balance, but above him waited one final clone, holding a glowing sphere of swirling wind chakra. With care and precision, the clone released the jutsu. The wind chakra expanded into a bright, spinning breeze that surrounded Madara like a floating cushion, holding him safely in place. The air hummed as the chakra wrapped around him, preventing him from moving without causing harm. Madara landed gently on the ground, brushing himself off. He looked thoughtful rather than upset. Impressive teamwork, he said calmly. I see I underestimated your cooperation. As the chakra faded, Madara stood tall once more, clearly unharmed. Sakura watched closely, her mind racing. He recovers quickly, she thought. But Naruko's clones are keeping him busy. We just need to stay focused and protect one another. Before Sakura could think further, Madara stepped forward again, smiling slightly. Staying alert is important, he said kindly. Sakura nodded and took a defensive stance. Madara moved with a flurry of fast but controlled motions. Sakura matched him step for step, blocking and dodging without anger, only determination. Madara paused and formed hand signs. Fire style, warm ember wave. A large, glowing wave of gentle fire chakra floated toward Sakura, more dazzling than dangerous. She held her ground as a Naruko clone jumped in front of her and absorbed the technique safely. Sakura, behind you. The clone called. Sakura spun and tapped a wooden copy Madara had created, which dissolved into harmless splinters. Thanks, Naruko, Sakura said with a relieved smile. Madara chuckled. So the clones see everything. Very clever. Nearby, the real Naruko was working with her giant toad friends, focusing not on destruction, but on holding back a towering chakra guardian that had lost its balance. The toads worked together, gently pushing and blocking so it could not move freely. We've almost got it. The chief toad encouraged. Naruko extended glowing chakra arms, not to harm, but to hold the guardian steady so it could safely disperse. With one final coordinated effort, the guardian dissolved into sparkling chakra light and vanished peacefully. Naruko exhaled, smiling. I'm glad that worked. Everyone did amazing. The toads nodded proudly. Our teamwork was the key, one of them said. After thanking her friends, Naruko returned to Sakura's side. She met Madara's gaze, not with anger, but with confidence. You're strong, Naruko said kindly. But we don't have to fight alone. Inside her mind, Kurama's voice rumbled warmly. You've grown wiser, Naruko. I'm with you. Naruko smiled. Thanks, Kurama. Let's keep working together and finish this the right way. Madara folded his arms, intrigued rather than upset. Very well, he said. Let us see how far teamwork can truly go. The wind stirred gently around them, not as a sign of danger, but of determination, friendship, and growth. Naruko gently descended to the ground as the glowing fox-shaped energy behind her faded into warm light and then disappeared. Her sandals touched the earth softly, and she began walking toward the clearing where the tension still lingered. She never once looked away from Madara. Nearby, Sakura watched with wide eyes. The air felt heavy, not with fear, but with importance. Naruko's presence was strong and steady, like standing beside a tall mountain. Sakura felt a little nervous, yet calm at the same time. After so many missions together, she trusted Naruko completely. She really is amazing, Sakura thought. And she always makes me feel safe. Naruko stopped at the center of the clearing. The quiet stretched on as she and Madara simply looked at one another. At last, Naruko spoke, her voice calm and sincere. We don't have to keep going like this, Madara. There's no reason to struggle anymore. Everyone is safe now. The world is already changing. Madara tilted his head slightly, curious. Inside Naruko's mind, Kurama's deep voice echoed, not angry, but cautious. Naruko, be careful. Some people don't know how to stop challenging others. I know, Naruko replied gently. But I still want to try. Madara gave a small, amused smile. Why do I keep challenging the world? He asked. Because it excites me. It's all I've ever known. Naruko frowned, not in anger, but in sadness. But challenges don't have to hurt anyone. They can help us grow instead. Madara studied her closely. You are different from the others, he admitted. Very well. If you believe so strongly, then show me. He placed his hands together, and the ground around them shimmered. Tall trees rose quickly from the soil, forming a vast forest maze. Naruko, Sakura, and Naruko's helpful light clones were gently separated by the growing paths. Sakura found herself alone but unharmed. She took a steady breath and reminded herself of Naruko's trust. Naruko closed her eyes for a moment. Stay calm, Kurama advised kindly. You've solved harder puzzles than this. Naruko smiled. You're right. She formed a bright, spinning sphere of wind and light, not as an attack, but as a guiding beacon. Her clones copied her movements, sending gentle gusts through the forest. The trees slowly parted, opening clear paths instead of blocking them. Soon, the maze faded away, leaving everyone back in the open clearing. Madara stood quietly, surprised. Sakura stepped beside Naruko, safe and smiling. That was impressive. Naruko nodded. No one needed to get hurt. Madara looked around at the peaceful scene. You turned a test into a lesson, he said thoughtfully. Naruko met his gaze. Strength isn't about overpowering others. It's about protecting them, and helping them understand. For the first time, Madara didn't respond right away. He lowered his hands and gave a slow, respectful nod. Perhaps, he said, there is more than one way to face the world. Naruko smiled, feeling hopeful. She stood tall beside her friends, knowing that growth, true growth, always begins with understanding. And under the clear sky, the forest stood quiet, not as a battlefield, but as a reminder that even the greatest challenges can lead to peace. The practice tools had been carefully set aside, but Naruko was not done yet. She hopped lightly into the air, her smile full of determination. Behind her, one of her cheerful shadow copies dashed forward, while another appeared to her left in a swirl of soft light. Instead of sharp tools, Naruko tossed a handful of glowing training tags that floated like paper leaves. The tall, calm opponent across from her could not repeat the same trick right away, so he had to move quickly to avoid them. He stepped aside, focused and alert, but something unexpected happened next. The last shadow copy gently tapped the floating tags, causing them to change direction mid-air. The glowing markers curved playfully, aiming straight toward the opponent's face mask. His eyes widened in surprise, and with quick thinking, he created a wooden practice double that stepped forward and took the gentle tap instead. The tags faded harmlessly as they made contact. "I must say," the opponent said with a thoughtful smile, "that was clever. You changed your approach and didn't hesitate to try something new. You're learning quickly." Naruko stood tall, her confidence growing. "Maybe," she replied calmly, "but if we keep trying, we'll find the right moment. Learning takes patience." "That's true," he answered kindly. "And sometimes, learning means being the one who needs to adjust." Naruko nodded, saying nothing more, her focus sharp but positive. "All right then," the opponent said. "Let's keep going." They both moved forward at the same time, light on their feet, when Naruko suddenly noticed a strange swirl of dark sparkles near the opponent's eye covering. He noticed it too and immediately stepped back, leaving another wooden practice double in his place. The swirling sparkles gently pulled the mask off the double, revealing it was only a harmless construct. Naruko giggled and lightly tapped the wooden double, causing it to fade away. She then turned and looked behind her in surprise. Standing a short distance away was her teacher, relaxed and smiling, one eye covered as usual. "Teacher Kakashi?" Naruko and Sakura said together, their voices filled with surprise and happiness. Kakashi gave a friendly wave. "I thought I'd help my students one more time. If this is a lesson about focus and teamwork, I'd say I still qualify to join." Naruko's face lit up with excitement. She felt encouraged, supported, and ready to grow even more. And with that, the lesson continued, full of learning, trust, and hopeful determination. A lone Mangekyo Sharingan stared down a pair of Rinnegan. Kakashi had appeared out of nowhere, trying to get the upper hand by using his own eye in a surprise maneuver. The plan didn't go exactly as intended, and now the three veteran Team 7 members looked to face their opponent together. "Got a little impatient, huh, sensei?" Naruko asked with a grin. "Sorry, Naruko. I couldn't resist. How could I pass up an opportunity to work alongside my students to protect the village?" Kakashi replied. Naruko chuckled. "I guess that does sound pretty tempting. But are you sure you're okay to handle this? You just finished a tough mission." "Don't worry. Ino helped me recover, and honestly, it wasn't too draining. We've faced worse," Kakashi said confidently. "Well, we're glad to have you here, sensei," Sakura added. Kakashi smiled beneath his mask. "Thanks. Isn't this touching?" Madara joked. "Your little reunion won't stop me, though." "Wanna bet?" Naruko called out, her eyes sparkling with determination. "Name your price," Madara said calmly. "Just try stopping me," Naruko shot back. Suddenly, Madara heard a familiar sound from behind. He turned to see one of Naruko's clones mid-air, spinning a Rasengan aimed right at him. His eyes widened. Almighty push. The force of Madara's technique sent the clone flying backward, and it disappeared as it landed safely on the ground. "When did you?" Madara stammered, only to see Sakura leap forward with a determined punch. Her strike landed, sending Madara a few steps back. He hadn't expected that. Above him, Naruko was ready with another Rasengan. "Not enough time," she shouted, landing a direct, non-harmful hit that pushed Madara back and left him momentarily unbalanced. "Kakashi-sensei," Sakura called. "Already on it," Kakashi replied, forming a careful jutsu meant to temporarily restrain Madara without causing harm. Madara smirked but realized quickly that Naruko, Sakura, and Kakashi were working together as a team. He tried to counter, but every move seemed anticipated by one of Naruko's clever clones or Sakura's precise strikes. "We just need to move him into the right spot for Kakashi-sensei's technique," Naruko shouted. "Exactly. He doesn't need to stay still, we just need to guide him. Keep him in the right place, and I can activate my jutsu," Kakashi explained. "Got it," Naruko and Sakura shouted in unison. "Whatever plan you have, it won't work," Madara warned. "Please. How many times have I heard that line before?" Naruko laughed. Sakura and Kakashi exchanged a glance. Naruko's energy and optimism never failed to surprise them. Kakashi threw down a kunai, signaling for Naruko and Sakura to begin their coordinated moves. Sakura leapt forward, and Naruko's clone created a clever distraction, guiding Madara toward Kakashi's prepared spot. Almighty push. Madara tried again, but Naruko anticipated it, using her own agility to stay one step ahead. Back at ya, she yelled, launching a playful burst of energy that nudged Madara closer to the target area. Kakashi activated his jutsu at the perfect moment, creating a gentle but firm force that held Madara in place just long enough. With teamwork, strategy, and Naruko's endless energy, the group managed to temporarily restrain their opponent without anyone getting hurt. "Is everyone okay?" Kakashi asked, landing beside Naruko and Sakura. "We're fine," Naruko said with a smile, dusting herself off. "Now, let's figure out the next step. We can't give up yet." Sakura laughed softly, shaking her head. "You really are just like you used to be, Naruko." "Yeah, just like the good old days," Kakashi said, smiling under his mask. Naruko looked at her friends, determination shining in her eyes. "Then let's finish this together. Team 7 style." And with that, the three friends launched into their next coordinated move, ready to face any challenge with courage, cleverness, and friendship. Naruko looked down at her hands and smiled softly. A warm, glowing chakra cloak still surrounded her, gently swaying like a comforting blanket. It made her feel calm and protected. This power was a gift, shared with trust. She knew it wasn't meant for showing off or doing everything alone. It was meant to help others. She placed one hand over her heart and made a quiet promise to herself. She would use this power wisely. She would stand beside her friends, not in front of them or behind them, but together. Looking up, she saw her teammates working in harmony. Naruko, her shadow clone, Kakashi, and Sakura were moving around their powerful opponent, Madara, in a way that felt more like a fast-paced dance than a battle. Their movements weren't strict or rehearsed. They were creative, spontaneous, and full of trust. It was Naruko's style through and through, and everyone had joined in. Sakura spotted an opening and leapt forward with confidence, using the strength she had been practicing so hard to master. She landed gracefully, touching down with a smile that showed pride, not aggression. Kakashi nodded in approval, clearly impressed. Naruko laughed lightly. "Nice move, Sakura. I'm glad I wasn't the one in the spotlight this time." Sakura chuckled and gently tapped Naruko's shoulder. "Maybe if you didn't surprise us all the time, I wouldn't have to keep up so much." Kakashi stepped forward and observed Madara, who had landed nearby, brushing dust from his clothes. He didn't seem upset. In fact, he looked thoughtful. Before anyone could react, a sudden shift in the ground caused Naruko's clone to act quickly, guiding Kakashi out of the way with a friendly push. The clone faded shortly after, having done its job. Everyone paused, surprised, but relieved. Madara straightened up and let out a quiet laugh, not cruel or loud, but curious. "That was impressive teamwork," he said calmly. "You all move with trust, not fear." The group stood still, listening. Sakura blinked in surprise. She had given her best effort, yet Madara seemed more interested in their cooperation than their strength. Madara continued, "It's rare to see people work together like that. Especially against someone they don't fully understand." Naruko stepped forward, her expression open and sincere. "We don't fight just to win," she said. "We work together to protect what matters. Our friends. Our home. Our future." Madara studied her closely, then smiled. It wasn't unkind or threatening. It was thoughtful, even a little sad. "Long ago," he said, "someone very important to me believed the same thing. I doubted those ideals back then. But seeing them live on through you. Perhaps I was mistaken." The air felt different now. Lighter. Calm. Madara took a step back and placed his hands at his sides. "Naruko, I would like to test your resolve. Not through conflict, but through spirit. Show me the strength that comes from caring for others." Naruko nodded, understanding. She didn't raise her fists or prepare an attack. Instead, she stood tall, her chakra cloak glowing warmly as she focused on the people beside her. Sakura and Kakashi joined her, standing close. Kakashi smiled beneath his mask. "Looks like this isn't about proving strength anymore." Sakura nodded. "It's about heart." Naruko grinned, full of confidence and kindness. "That's my way. And I never give up on it." And in that moment, surrounded by trust, growth, and hope, Naruko knew she was on the right path, not just to becoming a great leader someday, but to becoming someone who truly inspired others. "It's all right. She'll be fine. Things have changed. Now come on. We'll watch from the sidelines from now on." Sakura wanted to protest and looked to Naruko for an answer. She was still staring at Madara, but she gave a small nod. "It's fine, Sakura. Kakashi-sensei is right." "Okay. But Naruko, promise me. Promise me you'll come back to us safe. Naruko finally turned to face her, flashing her trademark bright grin. She gave the same confident thumbs up she always used when she made a promise. It's a promise. And this time, I won't let you down, she said. Sakura ran up and hugged her tightly. Naruko was surprised at first, but then she smiled and wrapped her arms around Sakura. I'm holding you to it, Sakura said. Breaking the hug, Sakura jumped back with Kakashi, leaving Naruko and Madara alone. Are you sure you should be making such a promise? Madara asked with a sly grin. Naruko smirked. I told you, I never go back on my word. I don't intend to lose. Madara's smile widened. Well spoken. They dashed toward each other, fists raised. As they swung, they blocked each other's strikes with careful precision. Neither could overpower the other, so they pulled back and stared, sizing each other up. Madara's hands began to move in intricate signs, but Naruko mirrored them perfectly. They ended their hand signs at the same time. Fire style, great fireball jutsu, they shouted in unison. Two blazing fireballs shot from their hands, colliding in mid-air. The flames clashed, swirling around each other. At first, Madara's fire seemed stronger, but then Naruko's eyes sparkled with determination. She infused a bit of her wind chakra into the fireball, making it grow and push back Madara's attack. The sudden burst caught him off guard, and he leapt aside just as the fire grazed him. How did you do that? My attack was stronger. Naruko laughed confidently. I knew yours would overpower mine if I didn't mix it up. Wind makes fire stronger, so I just added a little extra boost. Madara raised an impressed eyebrow. I see. You really are full of surprises. Different from your usual moves. What's wrong with my moves? Naruko laughed, feigning indignation. It's just. I thought you could only use those and your shadow clones. I haven't seen you try anything else. Come on. I've practiced so many jutsu, thanks to my Rinnegan, she said, puffing up a little. Madara got into another fighting stance. It'll take more than that to beat me. Don't forget, I can use those moves too. Naruko's grin widened. She knew he was right, but she wasn't scared. Not one bit. Shall we continue? Madara asked. Naruko formed her signature hand sign. Let's, she said, creating 3 shadow clones. 2 clones zipped to the sides while the third charged from the front. Madara watched carefully, trying to predict their moves. The clones moved in surprising ways. The one on the left slid across the ground, the right jumped high, and the one in front stayed steady. Madara dodged the first attack, but the others coordinated perfectly. With a series of kicks and flips, the clones struck Madara, sending him tumbling into the air. Uzumaki barrage, Naruko shouted as the real Naruko joined the attack, her final kick sending him gently to the ground, but safely. She landed gracefully beside her remaining clone. That was clever. I'm impressed, Madara said, brushing himself off. Naruko smirked. Thanks. But we're just getting started. Madara's eyes narrowed. He formed new hand signs, and 4 fireballs shot out of his hands, but Naruko was ready. With her clone's help, she dodged, jumped, and weaved skillfully, making the fireballs collide mid-air. Nice thinking, Madara admitted. But can you handle this next one? Naruko grinned, forming hand signs of her own. Fire style, great fire annihilation. The fire jutsu burst forward, swirling and expanding into a bright, controlled blaze. Madara stepped back, clearly impressed, and Naruko felt a spark of pride. She wasn't just copying moves anymore, she was creating her own strategy, her own style. She had promised Sakura she'd come back, and she was determined to keep that promise, not by defeating her opponent alone, but by showing courage, cleverness, and heart. Naruko took as deep a breath as she could manage and then released a massive wall of sparkling, fiery energy from her mouth toward Madara. The brilliant flames swirled like ribbons of light, too wide for him to easily dodge. She could feel her energy stretching thin, but she wasn't about to give up. Just as Naruko leapt over the dazzling wall, her clone formed behind her. It inhaled, gathered a powerful wind chakra, and blew it forward, sending a gust that met Naruko's fiery ribbons mid-air. The combination of fire and wind twirled together, creating a dazzling storm of light that encircled Madara. Breathing heavily, Naruko landed on the ground, her chest rising and falling. She could feel her energy reserve dwindling. Naruko, you're amazing, but even you have limits, Kurama's voice rumbled gently in her mind. I know, Naruko replied, brushing a strand of hair from her face. And this one? He seems to have endless energy. I doubt anyone can stop him on their own. Right. And he's not the type to let anyone get in his way. Be careful, he's regaining his strength. Naruko turned her gaze to where her attack had swirled. True enough, Madara was standing tall again, seemingly unaffected by the colorful storm. I really need to be smarter with how I use my energy, she muttered, a little embarrassed but determined. You are strong, Naruko, Madara said with a small smile. But you still have much to learn. Using all your energy in one burst isn't wise when your opponent can recover. Naruko clenched her fists, feeling a spark of frustration, not anger, but a determination to do better. She remembered her promise to Sakura and her village. No matter how tired or low on energy she felt, she wouldn't give up. I'm not giving up. Even if I get knocked down, I have my friends. I will protect everyone, she shouted, standing tall. Madara's eyes widened slightly, impressed with her spirit. But he wasn't about to make it easy. Then show me the extent of your determination, he challenged. If you want to be Hokage, prove you can rise above all obstacles. Naruko nodded firmly. I'll save my strength. This one's going to be a close battle of skill and wit. Her clone appeared behind her, holding a kunai with a playful grin. Don't forget me, the clone said. I'm still full of energy. Madara raised an eyebrow. Very well. Let's see what you've got. The clone sprang forward as wooden barriers erupted from the ground, but it dodged nimbly. Not so easy to get rid of me, it said. Naruko leapt into action, her fists glowing with vibrant energy as she swooped down. Madara ducked, narrowly avoiding her playful punches, while the clone quickly slid a small, harmless energy orb under his arm. It popped with a bright, sparkling burst, sending him stumbling slightly, just enough to tip the balance. And now we wait, Naruko said to her clone, a determined smile on her face. Then we figure out the next move. As Madara slowly regained his stance, Naruko and her clone flanked him, moving with a synchronized rhythm. Madara tried to track both of them at once, but their teamwork created dazzling afterimages, making it nearly impossible for him to predict their next move. Are you the real one? Madara asked, trying to guess who was who. I'm the real Naruko, she said confidently. And your clone? Right behind you, the clone chimed in, jumping lightly to the side. Madara frowned in surprise. You are clever, I'll give you that. We have to be, Naruko replied. Because we protect our village together. Then, in a coordinated motion, Naruko and her clone used their energy arms to lift Madara gently but firmly into a swirling sphere of sparkling chakra. The sphere didn't harm him, it was a containment of dazzling light that immobilized him just long enough for Naruko to regroup. Rasen Kyugen. They called together, their voices echoing brightly. Madara struggled playfully against the glittering energy, his eyes wide. You too are clever, he said, smiling despite being contained. And now? We wait and plan our next move, Naruko whispered to her clone, her expression full of hope and determination. Even though the battle was tough, Naruko's spirit shone brightly. She knew that with teamwork, courage, and clever thinking, there was nothing she couldn't overcome. The clone and the Rasengan flew off, while the chakra arm holding Madara crumbled to dust. He stumbled to his feet, then dropped to one knee, trying to steady himself. His body was slowly recovering from the strain. Oh no you don't, Naruko shouted, sprinting toward him. Madara struggled to regain his stance, not yet fully recovered, and braced for Naruko's attack. From the way she was moving, he could tell she planned to rely on her taijutsu, her speed, agility, and martial skill. Naruko closed the distance quickly and began a flurry of punches. Madara barely dodged the first few. She threw a right hook, which he blocked. An uppercut followed, and he leaned back just in time. Then came a spinning kick, which he ducked under. Despite his attempts, Naruko had him on the defensive. Her relentless pace made him hesitant to recover fully, forcing him to focus on defense rather than counterattack. But Madara knew he couldn't let this go on forever, he had to change the rhythm. When Naruko launched another kick, he grabbed her leg and flipped her over his shoulder. She spun gracefully in the air, landing lightly on her feet. Now she was on the defensive. Madara unleashed a rapid series of punches and kicks, but Naruko's reflexes were unmatched. She dodged, weaved, and blocked with ease, even countering with a few of her own strikes. Their clash became a whirlwind of movement, a perfectly matched standoff. Finally, they collided in a single, powerful fist bump that created a shockwave. Both stepped back, panting. Impressive, Naruko, Madara said, surprised. I didn't think even this body could tire. But you're full of surprises. Just because you're slowing down doesn't mean it's over, Naruko replied, steadying her breath. This fight isn't finished yet. True, Madara said, his eyes narrowing. But soon, I believe this battle will reach its end. Victory will go to the stronger. That being said, he wove 3 hand signs, and the ground beneath them began to shake violently. Naruko steadied herself as her vision widened. 3 enormous meteors came hurtling toward them, 1 in the center, 2 flanking it. Heavenly obstacle quaking star, ×3, Madara announced. Naruko's heart raced. She couldn't possibly stop all 3 by herself. Focus, Naruko. Kurama's voice rumbled inside her. You don't have to do this alone. Transform into my replica, fire-tailed beast bombs, and break the meteors apart. Then finish off the debris. Oh okay. Naruko responded, determination blazing in her eyes. She activated the Juubi replica, her chakra arms digging into the ground. She formed a massive tailed beast bomb and launched it at the center meteor. Already, she was creating the next one. Explosions rocked the battlefield as she destroyed each meteor one by one, then began obliterating the fragments. Minutes passed, and both she and Kurama began to tire. Just when she thought it was over, a fragment remained. You missed one, Madara called calmly. Wah! Naruko, above you, Kurama shouted. Naruko looked up in alarm. A giant chunk of meteor was coming straight at her. There wasn't time to form another bomb. She collided with it, and a massive explosion sent a cloud of dust into the sky. The allies stared anxiously, fear written on their faces. Sakura sank to her knees, tears streaming down her cheeks. No, Naruko, you can't, she whispered. Kakashi placed a hand on her shoulder, speaking gently. Naruko. From the cloud, a voice rang out. You shut the hell up. The dust began to clear. There she was, Naruko, holding the meteor fragment above her back, supported by her chakra arms, bent but unbroken. She lifted herself to a standing position, eyes blazing with determination. It's going to take a lot more than this, she said, voice strong. To finish me off. Kurama's chakra replica roared alongside her as she hurled the massive fragment toward Madara. He met it with a calm, unimpressed expression. Almighty push, he said. The rock halted, hovering inches from his face, then shot back. But Naruko's chakra arm pierced the fragment, and she emerged in full-tailed beast mode, charging at him with blazing speed, her fist cocked for a strike. Madara, she shouted, every ounce of her spirit behind it. Humph, he replied, crossing his arms in anticipation. The two collided with a deafening boom, a crater forming at the point of impact. Their eyes met, Naruko's filled with fire, Madara's calm and steady. You truly are something, Naruko Uzumaki, he said, smiling. What? Naruko asked, blinking. Madara relaxed, letting her drop harmlessly to the ground. That was the strongest I had left, he said. And you handled it exactly as I had hoped. I handled it? She repeated. You've bested every move I could throw, just like I once challenged Hashirama. You've proven yourself equal to my greatest rival. And that's all I could ever ask for. Naruko, will you grant me one last request? Sure, she said, curiosity and resolve shining in her eyes. Madara stood calmly beneath the open sky, his expression thoughtful rather than threatening. He held out his hand to Naruko, not as a challenge, but as an invitation. I want one final test with you, Madara said gently. Your strongest technique, matched against one of mine. Not to defeat one another, but to see how far you've grown. If people like you exist, then this world already has hope. Naruko looked at his hand, then met his eyes. She saw honesty there, not anger. Her face brightened with a warm smile, and she reached out. Okay, she said. Let's make it something we can both be proud of. They stepped back, giving each other space. Naruko focused, forming a glowing sphere of swirling wind and light between her hands. It hummed softly, like a friendly breeze dancing in a circle. Across from her, Madara shaped living wood into a beautiful spiral pattern, layered carefully like a piece of art rather than a weapon. Come on, Naruko, Madara said with a smile. Show me your heart. All right. Here I go. She replied. They moved forward together, not rushing, but trusting the moment. When the two creations met, they didn't crash, they blended. Wind and wood spun together, creating a brilliant display that shimmered like a festival pinwheel. The air filled with gentle sound, and the ground beneath them glowed with patterns of light. Inside Naruko's mind, Kurama's voice was warm and proud. You really are incredible, kid. You've shown kindness where others would show fear. Your teacher would be proud of you. Naruko smiled softly. Thanks, Kurama. I hope so. Madara watched the shared technique unfold, his eyes wide with wonder. He lowered his hands, letting the energy settle. Thank you, Naruko, he said quietly. You reminded me of something I'd forgotten. The light faded, leaving the field peaceful and unchanged, as if the world itself had been listening. Madara stepped back, his role complete, and the moment felt like a gentle farewell rather than an ending. Naruko looked up at the sky, her expression hopeful. I did it, she whispered. I'm one step closer to my dream. There's still more to do, but now I know I'm ready. And with that, she turned forward, carrying kindness, courage, and determination into whatever came next. Dear YouTube family. That's all for now. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content ahead. Thank you for your continued support. Regards. Anime Dreams.